Good evening, good morning, whatever it is for you. Welcome to the Loki Sports Show number 5, Christmas special. So, obviously, Christmas is like in really 2 days from now. So, I decided I'm gonna release like a little bit of a longer episode, kind of explain to you why in a little bit right now. Just want to release this episode right now, a little bit earlier than what I normally used to post. I usually post like at 10 p.m., probably even at midnight sometimes, but I just wanted to post a little earlier, just so if you do have family come on over the couple days before, if you're at a family house, you can kind of watch a little earlier in the day than you're normally used to. That, and I do have some plans later tonight. Probably gonna stream some movies on one of my servers, so that's gonna be pretty cool. So the first thing I wanted to kind of let you know would just be that thank you guys for watching all the content, of course. Just any like, subscription, comment, all that stuff helps me a lot. Views, of course, help me a lot. You guys have been doing awesome, clicking kind of all the stuff I post on the descriptions. I see the analytics and stuff, been seeing a lot of clicks and all that, so I'm very thankful for you guys for doing all that. And then one thing I would do is obviously today we're gonna go over what kind of happened last night at the Jets and the Jags game. I covered that in the stream a little bit after the show was over, of course, but then I'm gonna talk about the predictions for tomorrow and Sunday's games, because we have also the Monday Night Football game as well. And also, for the first time on the show, we're going to be talking about a different sport. We're going to be covering the NBA Christmas games. The Christmas games in NBA are a little bit bigger of a deal in that league, so we'll have to kind of check it out, of course. And right now, without further ado, let's kind of get right into it. So, Falcons, Ravens. This time, I'm not going to really go too much in the script. I want to kind of tell you who I think will win and kind of why. I think the Falcons are going to win this game just because the Ravens have been injured. They're not really looking good. And then Tyler Huntley can't really do the same things Lamar does. I've explained that before, but the Falcons have been playing kind of sneaky recently. Not the best team in the world, but they kind of stay in games maybe you're not supposed to. I think it's going to happen. And then they're still trying to gun for a playoff spot. Well, I'm not really sure what the Ravens are trying to do, because they still have a lot of wins from earlier in the season, but they can let their guard down. This would be the for sure an ultimate trap game. And the next game would just be Lions and Panthers. And what I kind of have to say about this game would be the Lions are a scorching hot team. Carolina isn't so much right now. They still have a real shot to win the division. So those two forces kind of clashing is going to be pretty interesting. But with the Lions offense, how they've been playing, and how basically even their defense has been playing a lot better, I think that will be enough to kind of beat the Panthers, really. The Panthers don't really have a clear advantage on offense or defense over the Lions. They have a better defense, but Jared Goff, Amon-Ra, Jamal Williams, their tight end room is still pretty decent, even if all Hawkinson, for example, as well. And then I know they have that Clete Frame to get that punt return last week as well. I know the Jets have the best special teams, but still, the Lions can still put up points, and I think they'll play against the Panthers really well, because I'm not really sure exactly who's putting up points for the Panthers. Sam Darnold, Deontay Foreman, Chuba Hubbard. Not really sure what's going on there, so I think the Lions will take this win. Next game would be the Seattle Seahawks at the Kansas City Chiefs. I'm not going to really delve too much in this game. The Chiefs are going to win this game probably pretty easily, just because the Seahawks are on a big skid. They lost one of their best receivers in Tyler Lockett. I'm not sure if he's out for the season or out for a couple of weeks, but that's a big blow for any team to have, because he was one of their locker room leaders, of course, and then obviously he was actually leading the team in I believe receptions and yards, or one or the other, just because people are not really talking about that, because I know people like to talk about DK's highlights, but Lockett was really neck and neck with him as well. So but Kansas City, even if they're looking a little bit more shaky right now, they still have Travis Kelce. They still have kind of a lot of different receivers and running backs who are not like as dominant as Tyreek Hill used to be, or even like Jamal Charles a while back, or even Kareem Hunt, but they all kind of do a little bit more of a committee rather than having one person kind of rely on each part of the ball on offense, especially. So we'll kind of have to see how that plays out. I'm not really sure how their defense will match up against Geno Smith, but I think Mahomes will have enough firepower to get past the Seahawks in this game. The first game, well, I'm really not sure, I'm not going to lie, would be the New Orleans Saints at the Cleveland Browns. I'm just not sure, just because the Saints are a weird team, and so are the Browns. The Browns have not had their quarterback, obviously, for a while, because I'm not going to get into that. But then they have Deshaun Watson for a minute. Saints, they've been injured kind of all season. Their best receiver, Chris Olave, is hurt, and then Jarvis Landry is also hurt, so I'm not really sure if they're just going to run the ball a lot more with kind of like that Taysom Hill QB power run, Alvin Kamara, or they're just I know they got Benjamin from waivers recently as well, or then kind of air it out through Rashid Shaheed. I'm not really sure what their game plan will be this upcoming game, so just because of that and how shaky the Saints are, I think the Browns will win. It's going to be at their home court, very cold game. I read it's going to be like 8 degrees, 7 degrees, so it's going to be cold for sure. Nick Chubb is going to play, I believe, because he did get cleared from, I believe, a lower leg injury. So if Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt, Donovan Peoples-Jones is nice, and Amari Cooper is also supposed to play, so that should be enough to kind of take the Browns over the Saints. Next game is going to be Texans and Titans, and I think the Titans are going to win. It's going to be a close game because the Texans have been playing all their opponents close recently. I'm not really sure what that's about. They played the Cowboys and the Chiefs both close. It's going to be probably the same thing. People are not going to be talking about that. But I think the reason why the Titans win this matchup is literally just because Derrick Henry against the Texans is like God. I'm not going to mince my words there. Every game, the last like 4, 5, 8 games, like that last stretch he's had against the Texans are like 225 rushing yards and 2 touchdowns, 250 yards, 3 touchdowns. He basically puts up 200 plus yards and at least 2 touchdowns every time he plays the Texans, and it might be the same thing. It's going to be for sure probably the same thing. The Titans need a win, especially because Ryan Tannehill is not going to be playing for the rest of the season, I believe, and then Jacksonville is like right on their tail for the division lead right now. I'll talk about that Jacksonville Jets game before I get into the NBA games. I just want to kind of save that for later because these games are a little bit more kind of shaky while that game already happened, so a little bit more analysis on there. Next game though, back to the predictions. Bengals Patriots. I think it's going to be a little bit another kind of game. It's going to be closer than people will expect it to, just because the Patriots have been shaky. They lost that game against the Raiders in a horribly embarrassing fashion, while the Bengals have been a little bit on a hot streak recently. I think they have like the longest streak in the AFC. They believe they've won their last 6 or so games. So the reason why I think the Bengals are going to win is because the Patriots have a good defense, but I'm not sure if it's enough to kind of compete with Joe Mixon if they actually want to use him. Mainly Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd. That's a 4-headed, and also Joe Burrow. That's a 5-headed monster that not a lot of defenses can really cover, and I think it's going to kind of show against in this game. I think the Patriots will have a good game. They'll probably be able to take at least maybe Jamar out of the game, but Joe Burrow still has great number 2, number 3 receiver in T and Tyler, so that's probably will be enough to really put them over the top against the Patriots. The Patriots offense has been a little bit injury riddled, just because I know Nelson Aguilar got hurt with that concussion a couple weeks ago. Ramondre Stevenson kind of got banged up a couple weeks ago as well, and then who really knows what the Patriots play calling is going to be, because we all know how they lost last season's game. I know I've already kind of delved into that a little bit, but I think going back to the Bengals side, just because their defense is a little bit underrated, I believe they're top 10, that'll be probably enough to take down the Patriots this week. Next game up would be the Giants at the Vikings. I think the Vikings are going to win this game. It's probably going to be not quite on the same epicness scale as the Vikings-Colts game last week, but I think it's going to be similar on the basis of the Giants are probably going to stay in this game for way too long. They don't have the talent as the Vikings do, but they're going to have Saquon Barkley probably go crazy. I think Daniel Jones might have a decent game or so, but then the Vikings still put up points. It might be a little bit of like a kind of shootout struggle on that part, but I think the Vikings are going to pull away at the end, probably in the fourth quarter or so, but because I know they have a really good fourth quarter differential with points. But people are going to think Vikings, Giants, probably an easy Vikings win, but I've realized none of their games so far against bad opponents, good opponents, have not been easy wins or losses. So I'll kind of have to wait and see on how they play that, but I think give the Giants some credit. They'll probably stay in this game. They're still well coached, even if they have not been playing their best football recently. Going into the next game, we have the Bills versus the Bears. Bills are going to win this game. They have much more talent than the Bears, but to me, another game, the weather will be colder. I know that doesn't stop the Bills from just airing it out. They love airing it out to Diggs, McKenzie's been stepping up. They still have Gabe Davis, of course, and Josh Allen is a beast. He'll run around too. But Justin Fields has been playing really good recently, not because he's been passing it through the air a lot. I know he's been having a couple multi-touchdown games, but the main thing about Justin Fields, which makes him really good, is just his ability to run around. And then the reason why that kind of concerns me for the Bills a little bit is just because last week I said it, I mean, in last show, the Bills were really struggling against kind of like that outside run, outside zone run against Raheem Mostert. Obviously, Raheem Mostert with the outside zone run when he's healthy is a beast. And I think, I'm not sure what Chicago's game plan will be for this game, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be a lot of, I'm not really sure if their wide receivers are going to keep up with the Bills secondary. So it's probably a lot of Justin Fields, Khalil Herbert probably, because he's coming back, David Montgomery. Probably them running around, but I must for sure probably see a lot of like Justin Fields outside scrambles. So then he'll get out of the pocket, move around from side to sideline, probably maybe extend some plays, but I want to see him probably running a lot because he's already had 1,000 yards rushing this season. Honestly, why against kind of this suspect Bills running game, he wouldn't not do the same thing. Next game, my 49ers are gonna be hosting the Washington Commanders, and I'm gonna say the 49ers win this game. I'm not sure what the exact kind of margin will be. I'm pretty sure their defense will keep Heineke in check. They'll keep Gibson, Brian Robinson, all those kind of they have Scary Terry. They'll probably keep him in check as well. I'm not sure if Traverse Ward is going to play because he's in the last stages of concussion protocol. If he does play, I think for sure won this game by multiple touchdowns just because he put in really good work against DK on last game against Seattle. And I would imagine he can probably put in similar work against Scary Terry. He's been quietly a really good cornerback for the 49ers because a lot of the main focus on the 49ers is their defense, but it's mainly Bosa, Dre Greenlaw, Fred Warner, Eric Armstead when he does play, and then we're going to have Javon Kinlaw back. I know Samson Ibukam was nice for us. We have a lot of guys mainly on the and kind of like that front seven who put in a lot of work, but secretly are kind of like Talanoa Hufanga made the Pro Bowl, Traverse Ward. I know we've been kind of like Jimmy Ward also. I know our secondary has been a little bit kind of different just because there's been a little bit more injuries there, but when they do play, I know Lenoir has been playing very good in that right cornerback slot. I would imagine our defense can still hold Washington in check. They might be kind of sneaky in this game, but I would imagine we kind of run away with it at the end. So that's what I kind of think about that game. The next game, though, that has a lot more implications would be, obviously, Commanders still playing for a playoff spot, but the Eagles-Cowboys game is very interesting just because Hurts is confirmed out, so no Jalen Hurts. So that means it's going to be Gardner Minshew Mania versus Dak Prescott. The way it's going to be a really interesting game just because it's going to be a lot more lower scoring just because this game was going to be more in the trenches, more defensively minded because the Eagles defense will have to play a lot better just because they have Gardner Minshew instead of Jalen Hurts. Gardner Minshew still, I'm not sure if he's a starting quarterback caliber player, but he played decently in Jacksonville when they were absolutely a mess, so but to keep that in mind, because you still have AJ Brown, you'll still have Miles Sanders, Kenneth Gainwell, Boston Scott, still have some running backs. You'll still have Devontae Smith also playing good. So we'll kind of have to wait and see on that a little bit more. But Dak still has his weapons as well. He still has Ezekiel Elliott, Tony Pollard. He'll still have CeeDee Lamb, who's been playing pretty good as well. And then he's been throwing the ball to Noah Brown a little bit more. So we'll kind of have to see on that department as well, how that's going to pan out. But I think because there's no Jalen Hurts, that's going to be the difference between an Eagles. Now, I'm not sure if they're going to win because they generally always play with the Cowboys, especially this game is going to be at Dallas AT&T Stadium. But I think the Cowboys will win this game just on the fact their defense will probably give Minshew probably some problems, and they're not to worry about the same kind of level of mobility Jalen Hurts would bring to the game. Next game up is going to be on the prime time for Saturday night. Raiders-Steelers. The way I kind of see this game going would be, I think the Raiders would win this game. They have a little bit more talent on both sides of the ball, I would want to say, than the Steelers. But I think it'll be a close game because the Steelers are still kind of in a lot of games, even if they haven't been necessarily winning as much as they have normally used to in the last previous years. I still think Raiders are going to win this game just on the fact they still have Devontae Adams. I know Waller's back. Hunter Renfro is also back as well, so they got their three-headed core. They've won it more like a four-headed level core because Josh Jacobs is playing a beast recently. But I'm not sure how Josh Jacobs is going to do because the Steelers' run defense has been kind of clamping up. They really stopped Carolina last week, so that's one thing you want to consider. But I think if they're three level monster with their receiving core, I think they can still take down the Steelers. It'll be a little bit of a closer game because I'm pretty sure Kenny Pickett will be back for this game. I'm not sure if there was any confirmation on that, but if he does, I think it'll be a pretty close game, even if Mitch Trubisky, I'm not really sure, but I still imagine no matter which quarterback would play for the Steelers, if they change their mind or not, the Raiders will win this game just on the basis. I think their defense can at least kind of keep the Steelers down with Najee Harris and George Pickens and all those kind of guys. So I would imagine the way I can see it, maybe a little bit of a more lower scoring game despite their weapons on the Raiders sideline. Even so, I think the Raiders will win this game. I'm not sure by how much, but probably be a touchdown or so. Still be a tightly contested game because the Steelers obviously want to win for Franco Harris because of the unfortunate passing recently. Rest in peace to him. Hope his family is doing good through these times. So kind of moving on to the Christmas game for the NFL, we have a couple I think are really interesting. First up is going to be the Packers versus the Dolphins. And the way I can't see this would be Packers are in desperation mode. Dolphins need to win too because the AFC, especially like in the wild card spots, are shaky. They're always going up and down, up and down. The way I see it would be Finn to win because if you guys remember, what happened a couple years ago in the 2019 NFC Championship game, Raheem Mostert went absolutely insane against the Green Bay Packers. So I would imagine he'd probably have a very similar performance against that because the Packers' run defense has been kind of off all season. Their whole team has been off, but I'd imagine Raheem Mostert off the look to be getting because remember, Miami still has Waddle, Mike Gesicki if they ever want to target him. They still have Tyreek Hill. Obviously, those are two elite weapons they have on the outside to stretch the field, and they still have Raheem Mostert. And Jeff Wilson's questionable to play, so if Wilson's not playing for sure, Raheem Mostert was going to have the lion's share of the carries, and I think that will be enough to stop the suspect Packers defense. But how is Aaron Rodgers going to play against the Miami defense? I think he'll have his moments for sure, just because Christian Watson's still playing really good. People are kind of forgetting about that. And then imagine he still has Lazard, who he still targets a lot. But I'm not sure how the rest of the Packers wide receivers would go, just because a lot of them are still younger. But imagine Christian Watson will have probably a long touchdown, a really good touchdown, imagine. Against his Miami secondary, it's been a little bit banged up. So that's how I kind of see it, but I still think Miami's going to win just on the basis they still have the better running game with Raheem Mostert when he's healthy compared to the Packers. And A.J. Dillon might be hurt because he got hurt against the Rams last week. So Miami will probably win this game for sure. Next game up I kind of have listed would be Broncos-Rams. And I'm not really looking forward to watching this game just because both these teams are done for all intents and purposes. Broncos were done a couple weeks ago. Rams were officially done after the loss of the Packers on Monday night. I think the Broncos are going to win just because their defense is still really good, while the Rams defense has been kind of falling apart recently just because they've had so many injuries, so many people leaving. It wouldn't make sense why they'd still have the same level of production they would have even like last year. So I'd imagine even if Russell Wilson plays, he'd probably not put up that much points, but the Broncos defense probably will hold Baker Mayfield in check because he still has not had that much time in the system, even if he did have that crazy winning drive against the Raiders. Last week, the Packers still kind of relatively shut down the Rams offense. I'd imagine the much better Denver defense would do the same to the Rams. So I would imagine it'd be kind of like a lower scoring game. It'd probably be like a 3-10 game, maybe like a 10-13 game. Very close. It's very grindy, very defensive. Probably not a game you'd want to see on a Christmas day for your family because not be very exciting. But it's probably not as bad as the Buccaneers Cardinals game. I would imagine the Bucs win by a lot just because the Cardinals have. If the Rams fell apart, the Cardinals have imploded. So I'm really leaving it at that. When I made that Cardinals rant a week ago or so, when I posted that short, when I posted on one of my earlier shows, I already talked about how the Cardinals were doing bad, but it just feels when I posted that, it got worse because Paul McCoy's on concussion protocol, and Kyler Murray is done with the season because he had the ACL tear. So that's two quarterbacks done. Steve Keim has stepped away from the team. I'm not sure what the basis on that is. I know it's due to a health-related issue, but I'm not sure if he's coming back or if he's done. He basically left the team. That's gonna be interesting. And then I'm hearing reports from the desert that Cliff Kingsbury also is gonna resign soon, or which is a very polite way of saying he's gonna quit before he gets fired, which I would imagine would happen. So their whole organization's kind of falling apart. GM, coach, their quarterbacks, they've been kind of dealing with injuries all year because Rondell Moore out for the season as well. One of their kind of more underrated weapons. Zach Ertz was done for the season, so the Cardinals are absolutely falling apart, and the Bucks kind of are too, just not on the same level. Because if there's one thing you have to kind of think about with the Buccaneers, it would literally just be that they still have Brady's. They just haven't found their groove, but Brady over Trace McSorley, take Brady any day, even at his age right now. Even if the offense is not clicking with Chris Godwin, Mike Evans especially, he gets a lot of targets, but he's not been able. They're not on the same page. Not really sure what that is. Their run game is very not impressive right now. But I think despite all of that, I think the Buccaneers will win by like 10 or so points. And finally, for the NFL is next. The NFL games, for my predictions, would have on Monday Night Football would be Chargers Colts, and yeah, I really don't know. I understand ESPN. I don't believe they allow flex out for games because I know they flexed out a couple games earlier this season for mainly the Broncos, but after what happened against the Colts, I really don't want to see them anywhere near prime time just because they're not even starting Matt Ryan now. They're starting Nick Foles, former Super Bowl MVP. We got to give him that credit, but I would imagine if how the Chargers have been playing a lot better recently, they beat the Colts by 14 points. I'm not really going to give the Colts a shot just because if they had that 30-point lead, they blew it. That really kind of soured my taste for them for the rest of the season because I'm not sure how a team's going to mentally be able to come back for a collapse like that. And I bet the announcers going to be talking about that all, like the full game probably. Or if they ever get up by 10 points or so, will the Colts blow it? That's how I'd imagine this game would kind of go. And I feel Justin Herbert, if Kirk Cousins can have his way with the the Colts defense, I'm pretty sure Justin Herbert with Mike Williams, Keenan Allen, Austin Eckler can probably do a very similar performance as well. I doubt the Colts will ever get to a 30-point lead because a lot of those were Vikings miscues, but I would imagine the Chargers still probably put up a good amount of points against them. I don't think they'll come back. They'll probably lead the game pretty convincingly the full way, even if the Colts try to make a run of Nick Foles probably being able to make some plays. I'm not really sure how he's looking this season because we haven't seen him in a while, but I think the Chargers are going to win this game. So, going back to yesterday, let's talk a little bit more about the Jets and Jags. So, the ending was really interesting to me because it was a final score of 19-3. Jacksonville won. They looked good. Even if there was some fumbles by Trevor Lawrence in the beginning. After that, I think they really just kind of played a clean game after that kind of opening drive. But the main thing was just that Zach Wilson might be completely done. Even if on Twitter, I know Ari Meirov has been posting that Robert Saleh says he's not done, that he'll come back, but it's just a mess with that whole QB situation because obvious Mike White is a starter, but because he's been hurt with those rib injuries against that Bills game a couple weeks back, he's not been playing, and no doc wants to clear him because he must be in really bad shape. And I would have thought Joe Flacco, because he's kind of like the veteran QB of this team, would have taken over because Zach Wilson has not been playing good. But Zach got the start today or yesterday, and he did not play good. He had like 60 yards passing the whole game. And the thing is, it's 60 yards passing, but it's not like against like the Denver defense, the Niner defense. One of those, those top groups that really couldn't do that to quarterbacks. It's against the Jacksonville defense that they gave up 34 points yet against the Cowboys like not even a week ago or a week or so ago. So, and they're not been good all season. The reason why the Jags have been in games because Trevor Lawrence has been blossoming into a star. Dave Jones has been playing good. How Evan Ingram has been playing good. ETN's been playing nice. That's why they're in games, because their offense puts up points, not because their defense is doing anything special. But this game, the Jacksonville defense was looking really good. Zach Wilson was a big byproduct of that. I think going forward, they're probably going to start whoever else they have, just because what happened was that after the second half, Zach Wilson got booed by his own fans. It was a pretty tough scene to see. But the main thing was that Zach Wilson got benched for Chris Streveler. I didn't know who he was. He kind of bounced around practice squad, started string spots, the CFL for a little bit, and then when he came in, even if he was not really good through the air, he had like a nice pass to CJ Uzama over the middle. But the main thing he was doing was, it was kind of like a wildcat quarterback, kind of hard to explain. He would like move around a little bit. He'd take direct snaps. He'd scramble around, and that was much more than what even Zach was doing. And when because originally Robert Sala, after the game in his post game interview, he said that he only wanted to bring Streveler for some like red zone work, and then just to kind of move around. But once he was basically playing kind of like a little bit like a mini Taysom Hill, they just let him cook for the rest of the game, and then Zach Wilson was cooked for the rest of that, just because I wouldn't understand the point of starting Zach Wilson with the way he's playing, just because he's not like a Lamar or Justin Fields, where if he's having a bad day to the air, he'll run around, extend plays. He's not really like that. He's not doing anything really through the air either. So, and it just seemed that the team plays a lot better with backup the like Mike White, Joe Flacco, or anyone else other than Zach Wilson. And it just kind of sucks to see, because he was a second overall pick, very hyped. I thought he'd do good things in New York, but we'll have to wait and see on how exactly Zach Wilson is dealt with. Maybe not off season, maybe he gets traded, maybe he gets released. Who knows with that, because he's still the second overall pick. A team's going to take a chance on him. Kind of how it always works with that. But enough of me kind of going on a little bit of a rant about Zach Wilson and the Jets. The Jags are still looking hot right now. The Titans have been on the skid. They're starting Malik Willis over Ryan Tannehill. So you kind of have to take that into consideration. With that being said, I still think Jacksonville will win their division, because I believe they're 7-8 right now, or like 6-8 right now, so they still have a couple more games to play. But I really think they have a shot, because no matter what happens, they play the Texans next, and then their last game will be a home game against the Titans. I'm assuming they don't lose to the Texans, their last game is going to be basically a playing game, kind of similar to what the NBA does, where you play and you get in. It's going to be the same thing with that. Just because the Titans obviously had a lot better of a start to the season, but now that they're skating, the Jags kind of had a bad start, and now they're going up. So we'll kind of have to see how they intersect. We'll see if the Titans kind of keep up the Jags offense or not. I think the Jags will put up a good amount of points, even if Derrick Henry has a good game against them. I think that I'm kind of looking ahead to that game, kind of seeing how I'd see the rest of their season, because I'd imagine Jacksonville plays good against the Texans. I'd also imagine they probably beat out the Titans. So, yeah, don't count them in just yet, but with how they're playing, they have a real good shot at winning the AFC South. And you have to really thank Trevor Lawrence, because he stepped up, because last year he had more picks than touchdowns, I believe. And that was Urban Meyer. That was a dumpster fire. But even if they kind of overpaid for some guys, they got him help. Kirk, Ingram, then I know Calvin Ridley is going to be on the way soon, but those are two players for sure that are going to help him, that helped his development a lot for sure going into the season. And then of course having Doug Peterson over Urban Meyer is just such a big improvement, because the Jags don't really commit penalties from the last couple of games I've seen. I know they committed a couple, but they play relatively clean. And then if they kind of show up the defense a little bit, maybe also ball security, especially if Trevor Lawrence fumbles mainly rather than picks, the Jags have a real shot of maybe being a double-digit win team next year, because people probably thought they were going to be like a 5-6 win team, maybe 7-win teams. That was probably their ceiling, but they kind of arrived earlier than we expected and have a real shot of winning the division, which probably no one thought they would have going into this season. So right now, I'm going to take a quick breather right now, kind of take a quick break. But when I come back, we're going to be talking about the NBA slate of Christmas games. Probably what I think about every team so far in this season, because they're a quarter of the way. And then we'll get into that when we get into that right now. So I'm gonna take a quick break right now, guys, and I'll see you guys when I'm back. Hello, everybody. I am back, and took a little break, got some food, drank some water. So let's talk about the second kind of half of the show, would be the NBA Christmas games. So the first games I want to talk about would be the 76ers at the Knicks. Right now, it's kind of a weird part of the season of the NBA because we saw some teams kind of really rise up, mainly the Jazz. That's like my main example. And then a lot of teams are kind of coming back to where some teams are coming back up. So what do I think about 76ers at the Knicks? The Knicks are a pretty good team, surprisingly. I know the Knicks are kind of one like the poster child, like team the media always talks about. They always talk about they're gonna be good, bad. If they're good, they're bad, or mediocre. No matter what, they're always going to be talked about. But I have to give the Knicks some credit. They're playing good. Julius Randle really resurgent, both ends of the floor. But the main thing would be that Jalen Brunson has really stepped up, and he's probably going to be an all-star this season, which is kind of surprising, just because when he was with the Mavericks, he was like a starter, like a good starter, and then he was able to play some really good games with no Luka in the playoffs against the Jazz. But you would never really see him like in the all-star conversations. He was never like that kind of guy. But ever since he got to New York, he's been averaging. Let's check this out really fast. This season, 20 points a game off 46.1% field goal percentage, 36.6 from three, 3 rebounds and 6 assists per game, and a steal per game as well. So he's been playing a lot better in New York, a little bit more of a focal point of an offense, even though I would imagine, I think a lot of people probably thought, oh, that's an overpay. And there was a lot of nepotism involved with Brunson to the Knicks, because his godfather is, I believe, a GM for the Knicks. I know his dad's a coach for the Knicks, and then I believe his godfather's son is also involved in the Knicks. So, and I believe that's his agent, actually. So yeah, there was a lot of little tampering, probably tampering. That's what it was. Obviously, I'm pretty sure every team does it. This Knicks got caught because it was so obvious that they did it. So, and they lost their second round pick, I believe, in the 2025 NBA draft for it. But if Jalen Brunson keeps playing the way he does, that's a really nice piece to kind of complement Randall. So let's kind of go to the 76ers side of things. The kind of a weird start is because when I really looked at James Harden was in shape, he would be really probably even back to maybe Houston days. Joel Embiid's always been an MVP candidate. Tyrese Maxey's probably take the next step. And then they signed PJ Tucker. They had some guys, and Tobias Harris has kind of been playing a lot better, especially on the defense side of the floor. But the main thing would just be Maxey's hurt, and their lineup has been kind of up and down with injuries and all that. So the way I see, I think the Knicks will take this one, actually. People are pardoning the Sixers, but I think the Knicks will take it just because Tyrese Maxey is going to be out for this game. He has, I believe, a groin injury or some kind of lower leg injury. Nothing doesn't seem too bad. It's just couple weeks really, but still that was a part of the big three, and the Sixers don't have too much depth, and the Knicks have been playing really good. They had an 8 game win streak at one point, and they barely lost that recently. So don't sleep on the Knicks. They're doing pretty good right now. Obviously, I'll come back to this later because I know the Knicks are kind of known for starting off really hot some seasons and then it's kind of falling off. So we'll have to wait and see on all of that. But I think the Knicks will win their matchup against the Philadelphia 76ers. And then next game would be the Los Angeles Lakers playing the Dallas Mavericks at Dallas. And I think the Mavericks are going to win this game pretty comfortably. The main thing I would say about this game would be Anthony Davis, the best player on the Lakers right now. I think he's still better than LeBron James, even if LeBron James has been averaging almost 30 a game recently, in the last 5 games or so. Anthony Davis, the whole team runs for him, really. If he's healthy and he's playing dominant, the Lakers are really good. But if he's hurt, playing banged up, or he's not even there, the whole team is basically based on Anthony Davis. Whatever he is, that's how the team is. And right now, the team with Anthony Davis is not pretty. The main thing would be, I think the Lakers have a real shot of winning this game with Anthony Davis playing, but without him, what's going to happen is that they really lack a lot of kind of size. It's weird because the Lakers are a team that don't have a lot of size and don't have a lot of shooting, which doesn't make sense, but that's how the roster's kind of built. I know a lot of it's supposed to be more like perimeter kind of defense, but without Anthony Davis, their defense is really, especially in the inside, is really noticeably gone. And then they don't shoot the ball very well. They're one of the worst teams in the league when it comes to 3-point shooting. So no shooting and no interior defense is a recipe for disaster, because what's going to happen in this game is that Luka Doncic is going to have his way. Luka Doncic, I'm pretty sure there's not a soul in the planet who can guard him, and there's no one of the Lakers who can probably even remotely slow him down, just because he is a 3-level scorer. If he wants to, if he just wants to shoot threes, just play on the perimeter all game, he can do that against the Lakers. He can do, if he wants to be mainly more in the mid range, maybe some more elbow shots, kind of maybe restricted there. He can do whatever he wants. If he wants to just go in, get layups, get fouls, maybe flop a little bit, kind of get some whistles, whatever he wants, he can probably do against this Lakers con. And then think, he kind of slowed down recently, because at one point he was averaging like 33 points per game. But Luka Doncic, as a basketball player right now, especially on offense, even his defense is not too bad, but his offensive game, his bag is so goddamn good. And he's like 23 years old. There's no way that the Lakers are going to win this game unless Luka gets hurt, unless he has a really bad game, just because Luka is just a beast right now, and he's been playing like a beast. So I'm gonna talk about the more competitive game right now. Next game we have would be Milwaukee Bucks at the Boston Celtics, and a week ago I probably would have said Celtics will take this home, but I think the Bucks will, just because the main thing would just be Giannis is still pretty much unguardable. Even if Rob Williams, Al Horford, I feel no matter who they have in there and the Celtics lineup, the Bucks with Giannis are just so dominant. Jrue Holiday's been playing pretty good this season as well. They still have a lot of shooting, a lot of nice wings as well. Especially with Joe was supposed to he's coming back. I'm not sure how good he's doing, but he was a really good wing with the Jazz as well. So that's why I think the Bucks will win, is because the Celtics are also in a bad shooting slump right now. At one point, they were supposed to be like an all-time. They're on pace to be an all-time great offense. Their defense was a little questionable, but now it's kind of flipped. So their defense is top 10. They're probably probably being a top 3 defense, because last year that's what their team was about, their defense. And I feel this season as well, it's gonna be same thing, but the main thing is their shooting slump is pretty bad right now, and it's been noticeable. They lost to the Pacers. They were getting they're down almost 30, 40 points that game, and the Pacers not really. I know they're not doing too bad right now, but they're not as talented as the Celtics, not even close. They lost to the Magic, who the Magic have been playing pretty good, a pretty hot team right now. Paolo Banchero, great superstar, first overall pick. He's probably be an all-star, which is the first time that's happened in a while. So I think the Bucks will kind of take advantage and win this game. I don't think the Celtics was a better team per se, so don't take this as me being biased against the Celtics or anything like that. I would imagine people kind of would see that, but I would imagine maybe later on the Celtics kind of get back some of that shooting form. They can beat the Bucks later, but right now Bucks take it home. Next game up would be Grizzlies at the Warriors, and a lot of these are going to be playoff kind of rematches. Obviously, Bucks Celtics was the semi-finals last year, and then same thing with Grizzlies at the Warriors. But Grizzlies are going to take this home pretty comfortably. Desmond Bain has been hurt, but the main thing would just be there's some players who are banged up right now. Andrew Wiggins is hurt right now. He'll probably be healthy, I would imagine, for the Christmas game. Not really sure what that status is. Klay Thompson, day to day, but the main thing is no Steph for around a month, and there are so many stats. If you just look at StatMuse, on Twitter or their website, that show that Steph Curry on the floor, the Warriors have the best point plus minus differential. No Steph on the floor, awful. They're really bad. They're bottom of the league, and it's not going to be. It's just the main thing is it's not going to be easy for the Warriors at all, obviously, because that's their best player. But he has so much gravity to him, because he just stretches out the floor so much. We all know Steph Curry has limitless range. He hits everything. If he wants to, he can still create his own shot. He can get to the cup, which is a really underrated ability. Is the fact that he really can't. He's not like a dunk. He's not gonna dunk on people when he finishes, but he can finish layups. He can do all that, which kind of makes him a lot more cumbersome than people think, because people kind of have that false narrative that Steph Curry is only a 3-point shooter, kind of like a role player. The thing is, Steph Curry can he's not really too much of like a mid-range shot taker, but his interior game alone, where he can have layups, all that kind of stuff, his layup package is really good. His finishing is really good as well. On top of the fact that he can create his own 3-point shot without having to have like someone else kick it out to him when he's open is amazing. And that's why he's such a great player, especially on offense. And people don't realize not only is that gonna not only is Steph not being there takes away their spacing, it takes away a lot from their kind of the fact that the defense is not going to be as honest, because they know that Steph Curry can still run up to the basket, get a layup. Another thing he can do is he can set. He basically just runs around all the time to get open. He kind of cuts around. He's always cutting on the 3-point line, especially the corner three on the left. He will find a way to get open, and I think that's because his conditioning is so good. You will see him a lot of the time if he doesn't have the ball in his hand, which is kind of rare. Obviously, he always be running around, and then that kind of the defender loses him, and that's why he gets open all the time. So that's another thing that will take away from the Grizzlies having to play defense on him. So that's of such a big magnitude, because Steph Curry is such a great player. Like, he was averaging 32 points a game this season, and he's well in his 30s. So great player, but we'll fight him. The Grizzlies will take this home. Last one would be the Nuggets Suns rematch from a couple years ago. With that was a really chippy series. They had the Suns in 6 guy. I think the Nuggets will get the win on this one though, because Jokic is still an MVP candidate. People are not talking about that enough, and the Saints have been banged up recently. I know a couple, like, I believe Cameron Payne has been hurt. I believe Cam Johnson has been hurt. I have to recheck again their depth, but I know a lot of their secondary guards have been hurt. Devin Booker has been kind of dealing with a groin injury recently. I know Chris Paul recently came back from injury as well. But the main thing is that there's a lot of drama, because I'm not sure if you guys saw that sideline altercation, but no little altercation with their coach Monty Williams, kind of getting really heated with their former first overall pick, their center DeAndre Ayton, and there's been a lot of controversy about it because DeAndre Ayton got signed by the Pacers in technicality early this offseason. But what happened was that because the Suns drafted him, they still had the rights to him, so they basically decided to keep him. They matched the contract, and that really isn't indicative of that kind of on the state of the Suns. Is because Robert Sarver, the former owner, was a big cheapskate. He didn't like spending, but I know they have a new owner as well. So that's like another thing that's happened with the Suns. That's more drama. That Matt Ishiba, he I know he's a mortgage lender, a big one, billionaire mortgage lender. So you have to understand, going from all the drama, like all the allegations of Robert Sarver, to a new owner I'm not really sure what his personality is like. I'm not sure if he's had any kind of scandals before. So that's happening while DeAndre Ayton obviously didn't want to be there, because he basically just signed with another team until the Suns kind of told him, no, you don't. So there's all that stuff going on right now. Jay Crowder's still sending out games because their Suns have been trying to trade him for a month now. So that's still going on. And obviously the Suns are a drama team. They complain a lot, especially when a couple games ago they're playing the Pelicans, and then at the end of the game, Zion Williamson laid like a monster dunk on them after it was kind of all said and done, and then they had like that controversy. But the main thing I would take away would be the Nuggets are still a good team. Let me check the standings really fast. I know they're top 3 for sure. Let's check this out. I know the Grizzlies are the number 1 team in the West. Actually, no. After last night's games, Denver is number 1. So yeah, they're still a really good team, and people are kind of forgetting, at least right now, especially, that Jokic is a MVP candidate. People don't want to probably give him an MVP, to see the voters specifically, because he won the last 2, and then in the NBA especially, there's a lot of voter fatigue, as it's kind of been known as, where if a player wins MVP so many times, even if he has a similar year, even if a better year, they will not vote for him on the basis of, no, they're tired of voting for him. And that might happen to Jokic, because he's still averaging almost a triple-double every game. I haven't seen too much of him this game, but I know he has a really nice drip, so I have to give him that. Let's see what he's averaging right now. Right now, Nikola Jokic off 33 minutes, 25 points a game off of 62% field goal percentage, 3-point percentage, 11 rebounds, and 9 assists a game. So basically almost a triple double every game off of 60% field goal efficiency. And that is incredible. If I saw that correctly, I'm not sure if there's another player who has similar stats with that much rebounds, that much assists, and that much points off that high percentage as well. So people need to kind of give Jokic still some respect. I'm not sure who's the MVP still. It's a young season. At one point, I think Jason Tatum is still in it. I'm not really sure. I think Giannis is leading the pack right now, but Luka was in there and he kind of fell off because the Mavericks are not doing the best right now. And Nikola Jokic, his team is the number one in the West. So if they do stay that way, you might have a real shot at it if the voters decide to be more objective than how they normally vote. So I believe Nuggets are going to win that game. So right now, I know it's not like as long as some other episodes are. I'm not really sure how to pen it out when I edit it and all that fun stuff. But if you did enjoy the NFL content, this is my first time talking about NBA on the show. If you guys have anything to say about that, whether I should talk about certain teams more, less, maybe some players going forward, I'd love to hear your thoughts. I want to probably do a baseball show soon, maybe some more NBA. Who really knows with that? There's been a lot of just so much stuff with the NFL. It's kind of kept me at the focusing on that, the main focal point. But just let me know what you guys think. I really want to thank you guys for sticking around this long, and that's all I have for you guys today. So happy Christmas, happy holidays, whatever you celebrate. Hope you have a great time with your family, and then I'll probably be off the next couple of days, but the next video is going to be the Vikings Colts. Kind of it'll probably be a more edited video, a little bit more of like a recap of what happened in that game. Then we're obviously going to recap this weekend's set of games from the NFL. Probably talk more NBA, more basketball, more baseball, I meant to say, going forward. So that's all I have for you guys. Loki Legion out.